So the new labelling regulations in South Africa definitely influenced Clover and our design process. In terms of restrictions from a design point of view, yes, R146 do restrict us, but I think it restricts everyone in the industry, and we have found ways to work around it. It took some time to get everyone on board in the company and get everyone to actually understand what the implications are of the legislation, but I think we're getting to a point where everyone's working together, understanding how to use the legislation to their advantage and how to apply it to the products and still have a creative design process.
Okay, so far the legislation has been in effect for like 2 years, since 2012. For Kellogg's, we haven't been caught in the wrong side of the law yet. I think they're still giving the industry time, to adapt, time to make the changes that are needed. And for me, this is the greatest thing ever with this regulation 146. In terms of the consumer can know what they're eating. Consumers are becoming more and more aware of what we are getting out there. It's when you walk into stores, so often you'll see a consumer pick up a product and turn to the back of the label. Usually it would be people who are in the food industry who are doing that mostly. It would be us food technologists, product developers. But now your normal consumer is more aware of what they're eating, what they're putting into their bodies. So yay for the regulation 146.
I think with regard to that, we have the Namibian Standard Institute, which is supposed to regulate the standard and labeling of food. So far, I think we are moving in the right direction, and that has culminated to us at Namibia Agronomic Board to also come up with the eye-catching label, which we want all producers or traders to be labeling the food that they are buying from the local produce. And also, in subsequency, all imports should be labeled where they are coming from so that it's easier and clear for consumers to have a choice what they are buying. And this has been one of the key marketing tools that we are trying to promote the local production in Namibia. And I think it's of significant importance to the country.
In the food industry in South Africa, we're very lucky because we actually have very enthusiastic and people who want to get their labels right. What we do often is we get a report of a non-compliant label, we contact the company, and 90% of the time the company says, yay, thank goodness we found someone who can help us, and they're more than happy to get their label right. We do a lot of label workshops for their staff, including their graphic artists, including the marketing people. Often the CEO pops in and doesn't pop out again because he's
the food labeling law in general has been a very good thing, and it's consolidated a lot of the information that's aligned with international standards, whereas our old regulation got to the point where it wasn't actually aligned internationally. There's some areas that still need quite a bit of work on and clarification from the governmental level, but it does now allow information to be given over to the consumer in a more concise sort of method across the industry, as opposed to people doing what they felt was right. Where it has not been an advantage is it's now making costly and pushing information onto the labels, whereas before you could actually do it by publication. It's now laboratory testing. So optionally a lot of manufacturers are actually leaving that information off the label because to save the cost on it. So in that way it's not been a good thing. There is some revision that needed to be done.
In terms of the law, when we knew it was coming up, we decided to implement certain things, certain steps already we started taking. So we have done a lot of progress. In fact, we've been very progressive. In the marketplace, we were one of the pioneers of introducing the law, steps of the law quicker than the rest of the people. Now, there are certain stumbling blocks that we still have to overcome, like this, the packaging sizes, the sizing of the lettering, which are now smaller packaging. Some or the other we have to get around that because of some technical issues in terms of printing. That is something that the law needs to allow because a certain type of packaging we have to the law has to really look into it. And basically that's where we are at the moment.
Well, look, the CPA is relatively new. The one sure thing that it has done is really to change the way business is done, generally in South Africa. obviously there's been quite a mixed reaction by business, suppliers of goods and services. As I say, being new and with far-reaching consequences to protecting consumers and generally, the regulating the interactions between consumers and suppliers. The reception has been good and bad at the same time. Good in the sense that for those who take their clients, consumers seriously, it has been a leveraging point, and for those who are in business for other reasons really other than just generally making sure that consumers are happy, they've found it quite difficult to work around it. But we've been on an education campaign to make sure that suppliers do understand the value of consumer protection, the value of protecting consumer rights, because it's not only really about giving consumer rights, it's also about protecting your client base. It's by and large about that, and for us, the sooner businesses realize the value of that, the easier our work, and the easier the culture of consumer protection really sets in South Africa, which is one of our mandates, to make sure that we develop that culture of respect for consumer rights, respect for good value, good quality services, quality products, and yeah.